Welcome, Shine Campus, to our Sunday Strength. I hope everybody's having a good Sunday. Um, I am wanting to talk about avoiding common wives' mistakes, and I feel like as a husband, it always is a little bit more challenging to talk about a wife mistake because I think overall as wives, I feel like wives are leading the pack as far as doing very well in keeping their relationships together. But it just so happens that in my practice, I actually see more women meet with more women than I do with men. So I know there are themes that happen frequently with wives and my thinking is not like how can I tell wives how to be better. My thinking is I want to be able to help wives to not have some of the heartache and the not peace in their hearts that I know that sometimes gets experienced based on the relationship, maybe things they've been through, and then maybe even who their partner is. And so um, what's the best way to resolve that? Well, is to provide, some information. So there's two things that I think are common mistakes, but I'll tell you first, like if you're in a place where you feel like you can't get your partner to do the things that you want them to do, where you feel like you're kind of at an impasse, like you've said everything that needs to be said, they're not moving, feel disconnected in your relationship, all of those things start to like kick up a certain amount of anxiety for you and or hardship for you inside because I think one, being alone when you're in a relationship is difficult, but then two, also feeling like, man, I need to get this person to move differently, and if they do, I'd be all right, and so I think it's heavy. And then naturally, I think there's also something built in women in a different way than what's built in men, or than it's built in men, which is like for a lot of women, I think that it's important that in their bodies, at least, they might not think it in their minds, but in their bodies, that there's a survival for what we're doing as people, and so keeping relationships together um, tends to tends to have a different kind of impact and effect. Okay, and so that's not reducing man. It's not saying that women are or are not anything. It's just something that's an observation, and everybody's welcome to challenge if that's true or not. But I see that that's an important trait with women. I think we all need it to be there, and I think that is useful for us to not take advantage of that scenario, and if anything, wrap our arms around it. And so that's the conversation for mistakes that men are having in their marriages. But for women, let's talk about some things that are happening that I think if we can shore up those scenarios, um, we'd be in a different situation. Okay. And so it's two things. One is um, being able to, I'm going to actually end up giving you guys a bonus, but the first thing is allowing your moments to disappear now because of what might happen in the future. And so often, I think, um, because we have intuition, or because as a wife, you have intuition and you kind of have seen patterns of your husband, and there's just been certain things that go on to where you feel like, I already know what's going to happen. And so, because you know what's going to happen, you start interacting a different way. And so, you end up creating a disconnect or a moment at this, a moment in this situation that is difficult as well. Right. And so, um, remember this idea that if you put up your fist, somebody else is going to go with you. Right. They're going to either put up their fists or they're going to put up their forearms. And so, because you're predicting so much in the future, a lot of times you end up doing this concept where you're creating that scenario based on your fear, right? And so that, again, that totally makes sense to me, and it makes sense because there's this natural idea, and this is even before you experience anything in life. So if you have experienced anything in life that um, affects your sense of abandonment, connection, and or sense of significance, then it's going to complicate things even more so and make you more afraid of the moment. And so the idea that you would predict something and have an issue about it right now takes away the peace that you could possibly have for this moment. If something's going to happen in the future, it's going to happen. Like, we don't have to be bracing for impact the whole time and not enjoying this moment, right? And so the best way to get through that is, one is acknowledging it like we're doing, and then two is being able to um, work on any kind of things that we have in the past that's really hooking on to us about previous situations. And so the more that you're able to work on that, then I think you could reduce the idea that some kind of future scenarios happen. So I kind of bring up the past, and I see them as a separate mistake. So one mistake is you looking at like what will happen, what my partner is going to do. And I'm upset now that they might do something else, or that we will have this situation later. And I don't think that that's fair to you or your relationship or your heart. And so I think it's something that you can work on and be able to turn around a little bit, or look at turn around. The second thing is you looking at the past and not being able to leave that where it's at. And that's difficult because um, the past is no longer here. And so what do we do with it? A lot of times, like, should I forgive them, or I can't forgive that scenario? Um, or I know all the things that have happened to me before in previous relationships or at different kinds of things, times in my life. And so I can't really trust what's going on now. But the hardest thing is you're not giving yourself, again, we're kind of at the same outcome. We're not giving ourselves a chance to do this new scenario that we have, and this new scenario is today. And so I keep going back into the past to try to construct what's about to happen. And you don't need that. You don't need what's happened in the past to construct this current moment, or to create a different kind of scenario for you. And part of the thing that helps us undo maybe even both of these mistakes is for us to be able to trust that we've been able to deal. So the truth of the matter is, any scenario that you've been through that's hard, like, you've obviously got through it, and here you are now. In your mind and in your body, you might feel like, I might not be able to get through another one of those hard situations, but you can. And you being able to spend time on working through that and looking at that helps you to have the peaceful moments. Like, you don't deserve to keep having the hurt and the pain and the challenge of the moment, because you can create something else in the moment, right? And so I think that actually brings on like the third bonus mistake that I want to be able to describe to you, which is like, when you're in the future too much, or when you're in the past too much, you forget about creating all the love that's needed right now. So because your partner might do X, Y, and Z, or because this might be a part of what's going to happen bad in your relationship, you get frustrated, and then you maybe take it out on your partner or on your relationship, where you're not spending time the same way that you would want to. Or because things have happened in your past, and that part is hard, and you haven't dealt um, in order to process out the things that you need to, um, then again, you're missing this moment, right? And so you keep missing the moments, and you're not developing a sense of love. And that really is a changeover. Instead of you running from something, recently uh, I coach basketball, for some people who don't know that already. I had some people come try to join our team from another team, and one of the things I told them is like, I need you to make sure you deal with all the things that you've done in that scenario. You need to close that chapter, because if we're sitting around meditating and you're coming in running from the tiger, we're not going to be able to do the same kind of meditation that we did, and you definitely won't be able to get in here and do what we're doing, right? And so it's kind of the same thing in our relationships. Like, whatever has happened in the past, or whatever scenarios that I'm predicting in the future are going to happen, doesn't give me a chance to be in the situation now, and the person that I need to be to build on this moment. And so your relationship really needs you to stand up in a different way. And I know that that's a hard scenario, especially when your partner might show up a certain kind of way and not necessarily raising their hand to go first on things. And you battle that scenario and everything you've been through and everything that might turn out and to be, but it doesn't give your relationship the chance that that it needs, and it doesn't give you a chance to be at peace inside of your heart. And so this is a super difficult task. But now that you know those mistakes, like, can you move the needle on being able to build towards a loving kind of interaction and relationship? And so, what's the replacement of it all? If those are the three mistakes that we really need to kind of avoid, what is the replacement? Well, to me, the replacement is for us to be able to one, process the things that keep us stuck. And I don't know how long that's going to take you, but I think it's important for you to start looking for it. And then two, start developing a sense of love in your relationship versus basing everything that you're doing on fear or predicting that the worst is going to happen, right? So fear or anxiousness can't be what runs your relationship. It has to be love. And then the last thing is, think of your job or your opportunity in life is about service. And the best way for us to serve people around us is, one, to do the things that we have to grow, but then to be something enough on the inside that we can produce on the outside. And the what more we can do that, I think that helps us to fulfill our purpose. And so then we don't have to look around us to be able to figure out, like, man, where my purpose isn't being fulfilled because these people aren't doing different things. So if we can move that way and start thinking like, okay, part of my purpose is for me to be able to serve other people. And the only way I serve other people, not please other people, but serve other people. The only way I serve people is if I work on the inside so that people could have a different kind of scenario with me and experience with me. And that's doing away with those three mistakes where we're not developing love in our relationship, where we're looking too far in the future, where we're basing everything else on the past and things that we've been through. And so we can replace all of that if we can say to ourselves, I've got to be more on the inside so I can create something else. Okay. If you need help with that, we really work on that in our marriage communication masterclass, and we do that once a month. We'll have another one at the end of September here. And so please feel free to step into that, or keep checking out our videos. We have so much information to be able to help you to work through all the different challenges that you will have as an individual in life and in your relationship. We'll talk to you guys soon.